Yeah.
You modulate the laser beam. What does that mean? I put a circuit on here that feeds the power to the laser, and it makes the laser get brighter, dimmer, brighter, dimmer, brighter, dimmer, 1,000,000 times a second. That's pretty fast, isn't it? Now, I take the laser beam and I put in this room. On the other side, I put a mirror. This is the, let's say this is a room. I put a mirror right here. I put a piece of glass, you know, like on a microscope, where you put something on a microscope and look through it. I put a piece of glass and I shine my laser beam through that and hit that mirror. Now this is a special mirror. It's mirrored on the front, not the back of the glass, because you don't want to go through glass. That slows down your light beam and it introduces error. So you don't want that. So use front surface mirror, kind of expensive. You send the beam back over here and you have a light sensor. And the light sensor is a transistor that's very fast. And you take part of the beam though, and when it goes through the beam and goes across the room and comes back over here, but part of the beam hits the glass, comes over this way, and you have a mirror here, just like that one, on the front surface, and you bounce that back to another light sensor here. Now, which light sensor is going to get hit first with the light? This one or that one?
This one.
This one, because it's shorter distance, right? So, you measure this distance here very accurately, and you make this as short as you can, so it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. When the light beam gets brighter, dimmer, brighter, dimmer, it's going to cause a signal on the oscilloscope, one of these, that looks like that, okay? This is an oscilloscope. And it produces a voltage, looks like that. You see that? Now, you're picking up noise from these lights. You ever touch a guitar amplifier or something? You go, you hear that loud hum?
Yeah.
Well, you're seeing it rather than hearing it, because that converts the voltages that I'm picking up into a thing. Well, you're going to have two of these signals on the oscilloscope if you feed them both into the scope. And one of them is a beam here that's getting brighter, dimmer, brighter, dimmer. And the other one's this signal that's getting what? Brighter, dimmer, brighter, dimmer. You follow me? Now, when they get to the oscilloscope, they won't be together anymore, because one of them took a short path, this one right here, you see? That's the short path. And it'll start the trace, and then just a little bit later, the other one will start to make a trace. The difference in time here is the time it took to go over there and come back. How long do you think it takes a beam of light to go from here to over there and come back? Do you know?
No.
40, I've done this, 40 billionths of a second. That's amazing, isn't it? This thing here will let me measure 40 billionths. That's 1,000 millionths, 40,000 millionths of a second. Isn't that amazing? And anyway, by doing this, you can measure how long it takes, and if you know the distance, you can calculate the time. Distance, rate, time.
And then what do we do with that information?
You compare it to just see how accurate you can get. I mean, it's just it's interesting just to be able to measure. That's a standard in the universe for speed is the speed of light. So 300 million meters a second, and if you measure it accurately, you can get that done here in this room here within 5% using that oscilloscope. The funny thing is, I picked up a science book from the early 1960s one time. I bought it out to the flea market. And it was talking about the speed of light. And it said the speed of light. This is something that cannot be measured in a high school laboratory. Of course, with lasers, it makes it easy. I mean, it's really not that hard. A beam of light can go, if it could go in a circle, would go around the world 7 times in 1 second. That's fast.